Carlos Sainz, one of the fastest Formula 1 drivers currently on the grid, has had quite the rocky start to his season. 3 races and a sprint race, and there's plenty to unpack as to why Sainz has a problem here at Williams. The Spaniard obviously made one of the biggest driver market shakeups in 2024, moving from Ferrari to Williams, which wasn't really much of a choice considering Lewis took his spot, but it's now a completely different team and culture that he's a part of, and that has something to do with the struggles as well. I'm going to talk a lot about his driving style in this video, adapting to the overall team environment and a previous team that he was at, and where the car had the exact same problems that this FW47 has, and why it took Carlos Sainz a little bit of time to adapt before he was really truly in his best form. So right before I unpack all of that, I wanted to thank you guys for support. We're so close to 80,000, which is just ridiculous, and getting close to that big 100K, which just means the world. Thank you all for the support. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. Shows me I'm doing a good job and truly means a lot to me. But let's get started with this Carlos Sainz video. We're obviously just a few races in to this 2025 season, plenty to go, but it's clear Carlos has been on the back foot, maybe a little bit more than we expected considering how good testing went. But this truly doesn't tell the full story. He joined Williams after what I thought was a stellar stint at Ferrari, and expectations were obviously high. Williams' team principal James Vowles is obviously calling him a world-class driver, which he is. And the hype and build-up that they did for really Albon and Carlos now being together was very well made. I enjoyed all of the videos they've made, and it is one of the best driver pairings we have on the grid. There's maybe only like 2 teams that are better. But the results just aren't there yet. In Australia, he obviously crashed on the first lap, what we can call pretty much a misshift, with him just not really knowing how the engine works in comparison to what he's worked with Ferrari and Renault engines. It is his first time in a Mercedes car. Shockingly enough, a lot of people mistake that McLaren had a Mercedes engine, but when he drove for it, it was Renault. It was when he left that they took a Mercedes engine. In China, he did score a point, but that was because of a lot of disqualifications, and overall he didn't have any pace in that race in comparison to that of his teammate Alex Albon, and the sprint in general wasn't great as well. Now Japan, there were some good signs. We also learned a bit about why he's struggling with the car, and if it wasn't for him getting put back 3 places because of that mistake, the block that he made in qualifying to Lewis going onto a fast lap, then maybe Carlos could have inched himself to a P10 possibly. And I would say Japan was better than what we saw in China and obviously the little we saw in Australia. But I want to talk about what's going on. Is it the car, the team, Carlos himself? What's really the problem that Carlos is having here? And how is he handling the FW47? Carlos's driving style has always been precise but aggressive. He loves understeer, and the way that he extracts every ounce of performance out of those cars is typically through aggression, and he's mentioned multiple times in interviews, you give me an understeer car, I will make it turn. He's never been a fan of putting too much oversteer on the car and having a loose rear end, as he likes to be the one to dictate how it turns. He uses a lot of the pedals to kind of throw that car in and uses the understeer to control it even better in the race, which is why he's been very good on his tire management in all of these seasons. He struggled in the beginning with the F175 in that 2022 season, but as we got to the SF24, I would say it was probably his best season in the sport. He loves to late brake and aggressive on corner entry. As I said, he loves to make the car turn, and his wins span from a lot of track layouts. We saw him win in Singapore 2023 in a very smart fashion. I'm not sure if the car was the fastest, but he did put in the qualifying lap, and then in the race was very smart with how he was using that DRS distance, and overall tire management was done very precisely. Australia 2024, coming off of a surgery, barely limping to the paddock in the race before, gets a pretty dominant victory, but completely different tracks. Mexico was a track that he didn't like previously, then in 24 drove it extremely well. But the biggest thing we can get out of all these tracks is he attacks the corners and manages tires incredibly well. The FW47 is a completely different car to what he's driven previously. Sainz himself has admitted this is a mismatch. He said, I was used to a certain type of car at Ferrari, which made me drive in a very specific way. And even Bernie Collins recently spoke about driving styles and why it's so hard to take it out of your real muscle memory, changing from team to team and how you need to now drive this car.
They're driving instinctively, not thinking about where they might brake or where they might turn. That just sort of happens for them. And the best drivers, the amount of overhead they have, even when they're driving at that, is unbelievable. So then to say to them, it's a bit like saying, okay, you play football with your right foot. Okay, this match, left foot only, please. You can't just say, I want you to drive a much more nervous front end car. So, there's no way you could do it.
These drivers have gone from karting to here. Those driving styles have made them get into this amazing sport. And now they have to pretty much rewire how they think and how they need to drive going into corner entry, or really how they take the exits. Years of attacking a corner a certain way doesn't gel with the Williams as of currently, especially as we saw on the front limited tracks like Shanghai. And it's not like he's far off. He's struggling to find that last tenth or two, particularly in qualifying, where we can see his instincts kick in. And he pretty much is reverting to the old stuff that he learned at Ferrari. And he himself has estimated it's going to take about 5 to 10 races, which seems to be pretty typical in any team that he joins. It's really not about the pace because Carlos has that, and I can argue that he's probably top 5 when it comes to finding that optimal, real peak pace that he has. But he has to rewire a bit his approach now that he's at Williams. With that, it's a new culture, really a culture shock. Moving from Ferrari to the Williams is a really leap into the unknown. Ferrari is motorsport's dynasty, the first team in Formula 1, with endless resources, and obviously they've been focused on winning for a long time. Williams, while they haven't won in a while, now has James Vowles, and the team is on the rise. They're midfield, but only going up, and it's still in that rebuilding phase, and more of it is focused on the 2026 regs rather than the instant glory that would be nice for a Spanish driver. Sainz has called it obviously a different atmosphere, and you can see why. At Ferrari, they're well oiled with the exception of the strategy team. Still very weird. And at Williams, he is a key to the project still finding its rhythm. But obviously, it isn't new for a driver like Carlos. He drove a Toro Rosso, Renault, McLaren, Ferrari, and now with the legendary Williams team. Each shift has brought up its challenges. Now this one is a bit bigger than others, as he did go from a winning team to now a midfield team. And Albon himself has noted that Sainz's approach to perfection is pushing the team to its hardest. While he did end up crashing in Australia, he was one of the strategists that did bring home Alex Albon's P5 finish. And while he hints that he's not at home yet, he is finding his place pretty quickly here at the Williams family. Throughout all the teams that Carlos has driven at, the toughest time he had with a very tricky car was at Renault. Go back to 2017, 2018 when he joined Renault mid-season from Toro Rosso. That Renault RS17 was a tricky car and very unpredictable, prone to oversteer and tough to balance. Sounds pretty familiar, right? Sainz took some time to gel with it. In 2018, he scored points consistently but rarely matched his teammate, who is still in the sport, Nico, who was very quick in qualifying in particular. Now the car required a very delicate driving style because it was super oversteery and tough to balance. And as I stated before, a lot of the turning happens when Carlos is using his pedals and really the feel in his hands to be able to turn the car. Now if we look to the current, the Williams FW47 has its own quirks. And Sainz has called it not an easy car to understand, especially on the tire sensitive tracks. Like Renault, it's exposing gaps between his natural style and really what the car needs. In the Renault days, it took him about half the season to find his footing. By mid-2018, he was super competitive, scoring points consistently. And I do think we're going to see a very similar timeline here. I think Bahrain's actually going to be a bit better for him as well. Adaptation is not instant, not even for a driver like Carlos himself. And while Sainz is adjusting, Alex is flying. 16 points in the 2 races, Australia and China, and he just scored in Japan as well. And this guy has been embedded with the team. From the start of the regulations to now the end, it's been Alex Albon, the leader, and really dictating where the car is going towards. He's really good at exits, and tire management has been phenomenal. He drove already this tricky Williams, like I said, now for 4 years straight. And he's got used to a car that's pretty tricky in the corners, but very fast down the straights. His comfort clearly shows amongst the 2 drivers, as those couple of tenths is what you need, and comfortability is really where that's at. When Carlos can push the car to the limit, he will be there, and I expect this teammate matchup to be the closest in qualifying in the race by mid-season time. Albon has already credited Sainz for really pushing the team, bringing a different atmosphere to Williams, and in general looking like a revitalized team. Albon's success isn't just talent. He has trust and time with the team, something that Sainz is still building on considering he just started. So through all of this, it's a mix as to why Carlos is struggling. There's some driving style parts, he just joined the team, and it seems like in any of the years that he did join a team, whether it be mid-season or the beginning of the season, it took him a bit of time to adapt. If the car is a bit more reactive in the rear, which is an oversteery car, it's going to demand a little bit of time. But what are your thoughts? I believe Carlos is going to be just fine towards mid-season. just has been a bit of a struggle, and the problems that he's been having have been more revolved around the driving style that he was so used to at Ferrari, and now having to change and rewire his system for the new team. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Please leave a like, subscribe. It would mean the world, and peace.